everybody. Welcome to the Rider Magazine Insider Podcast. I'm Greg Drevenstedt, editor-in-chief of Rider Magazine. What is my job? I've got my friend and colleague here, Kevin Duke. He's the editor-in-chief of American Rider. And we're going to talk about Americade. Before we do that, I want to kick off the show by thanking our sponsor, Fly Racing. I've been wearing Fly Racing gear for years, and from helmets to boots and everything in between, Fly Racing makes a protective apparel for street, adventure, and off-road riding. Fearless pursuit is the foundation of Fly Racing. It drives their design and their commitment to being a leader in the industry. Feature-rich products like the off-grid adventure jacket use cutting-edge materials, innovative design, and enhanced safety features to protect riders in all types of conditions. I've been wearing the off-grid jacket over the past couple of years, and I really like it. It's got fold-down panels in the front and on the back, so you always get hot when you're adventure riding. It allows a lot of airflow, but it's also got a removable rain barrier. It's got CE-rated armor. It's a really versatile piece of gear, and they say it's great. Rain or shine, hot or cold, it's a great jacket. So take your adventure farther than you ever imagined. Learn more at flyracing.com or at your Western Power Sports dealer. You can also follow at Fly Racing USA on social media to keep up with all Fly Racing sponsored riders. So thanks again for your support. Okay, Duke, so we're talking about Americade, which is, for those that don't know, it's America's largest all-brand, all-style of motorcycle rally. It's been going on this will be its 41st year this year. It takes place in Lake George, New York, which is a beautiful location. It's right in the Adirondack Mountains. Lake George is a beautiful Clearwater lake, and just a little bit to the east is Vermont. So you've got more mountains over there with the Green Mountains and covered bridges. So the Americade Rally this year, it kicks off on Tuesday, May 28th. That's the day after Memorial Day. Actually, that night is the rider-sponsored opening celebration, so that's kind of a kickoff party for people that register in advance. There's some entertainment, some music. We give away some prizes, and then the rally officially begins on Wednesday, May 29th, and runs Wednesday through Saturday, which is June 1st. So I've been to Americade, I don't know, half a dozen times. Duke, last year was your first time in Americade. What'd you think?
Yeah, what a cool rally, right? It's not just like one brand or anything. It's like all kinds of motorcycles show up. So you had like Harleys, of course, probably more Harleys than anything, but
Sure.
also tons of Gold Wings and sport touring bikes and even like naked sport bikes. And it's just a fantastic way for anybody to come together. It's not pigeonholing one kind of rider into one kind of rally. It's everybody, come on down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, if this is an event that has lots of entertainment, there's boat cruises on the lake, there's self-guided and guided rides, there's comedy shows with Alonzo Bowden, who's a longtime motorcycle enthusiast. There's a big vendor expo. There's a lot of things, but really, a lot of people come to Americade because the riding is so good. It's it's early enough in the season that it's still a little bit cool, might get a little bit of rain. That's kind of always a joke with Americade. It's like, well, if it hasn't rained yet, it'll probably rain tomorrow. But really fantastic riding in that entire region. So people come from far away and do nice rides to get there. So, one of the things that I think is a big draw for people coming to Americade is they do demo rides. I mean, a lot of times you can't necessarily get to ride new motorcycles at your local dealer. But Americade says they're going to have 17 manufacturers doing demo rides this year, which is huge. That's a lot of tractor trailers. It's a lot of bikes parked out on the parking lot. And so the brands that are listed to come this year, and they run Wednesday to Saturday from 9 to 5, Aprilia, Beta, BMW, Can-Am, CF Moto, Harley-Davidson, Honda, Indian, Kawasaki, KTM, Moto Guzzi, Moto Morini, Piaggio, Riwako, Trikes, Triumph, Vespa, and Yamaha. So those are all brands in which you can ride demos, and then there will also be static displays. Buell will be there, so I assume that hopefully they're going to have their Super Cruiser, which has been getting a lot of buzz. Gas, which will be mostly dual sport and dirt bikes, and then Stark Future, which I guess is a electric motorcycle brand. I don't know much about it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, like it's incredible that many manufacturers offering demo rides, right? Some people have a hard time going to their dealer and saying, "Hey, I would like to take a ride," and they go, "Oh, well, sign this form," or "We don't do it until you get put a deposit or something." And here's 17 brands, so there's got to be at least 100 different kinds of motorcycles to ride, and you can do it all at this one event. It's just what a fantastic opportunity. You get some seat time in a bike here, you read about it on Rider and you go, oh, well, that might be interesting, but I wonder how I'd fit on it or what it would feel like to
Right.
ride it. And they're all laid out for you right there.
Well, and some of the manufacturers, they do group rides where everybody sort of goes out at one time. I know Triumph, what they did the last couple of years is they let people go out individually. Like, hey, you've got to be back at this time, but you can go out and ride on your own for a set amount of time. But I do know from experience, if you want to get on demo rides at an event like this with so many people, you got to get there early. They don't take advance reservations. You can probably book a time in the afternoon if you show up in the morning, but show up early in the morning because they will book up for the entire day. And so get there early, go over to whatever brand you want to do. Hopefully they'll have the bike that you want because like I said, some of the hot bikes everybody's going to want to ride them. So
Well, and that's
uh,
why it shows how it's a great opportunity is that everybody wants to get on a bike. So yeah, good advice. Get there early and get your name down on the list.
so people that register or pay for you can get multi-day passes for Americade, you can get single day passes, is that you got to pay an entry fee or a registration fee to be able to do the demo rides, but also that gives you access to the Americade Expo. That's 300,000 square feet of vendor space where
Yes.
all kinds of companies are, you can have motorcycle audio or accessories installed on your motorcycle right there. You can not only buy it, but they'll actually do installation. They do some dyno testing. You can buy, Nelson rig luggage. You can buy showy helmets. You can buy all kinds of stuff there. And there's t-shirts and patches and stickers and pretty much anything you think you may want for a motorcycle they've got there at the expo area. So
Yeah, seats and lights and all kinds of stuff. It's a great shopping opportunity. Just walk around with surrounded by fellow motorcyclists and you've got your picking of all kinds of stuff to look at.
yeah, and so I mentioned some of the events. Like I said, the comedy shows with Lonzo Bowden are always really popular because, he is a motorcyclist. He does, instead of sort of usually a set routine, he does a lot of the, working the crowd, talking to people about the certain kinds of bikes. And he knows bikes well enough to know what's funny about, Goldwing owners versus Harley owners and husbands versus wives and riders versus passenger. It's always a lot of really entertaining to see him.
And
There are,
he's a really cool guy too, right?
yeah,
Like an avid motorcyclist. He just loves motorcycling. So he's not some comedian who's flown in to talk to motorcyclists. He's a motorcyclist. He gets us.
Yeah, and I mean, if he does a couple of shows, I think like a Wednesday night and maybe a Friday or Saturday night, and when he's not at the show, he's out riding. He's over at the Triumph trailer, at the KTM trailer, whatever. He's borrowing bikes and going out and riding. It gives him an opportunity to ride a bunch of different bikes. So one of the things, if you've never been to Americade, the village of Lake George it's pretty small, but it's got a main road that's called Canada Street, mainly because it's not that far. Lake George isn't that far south of Canada, but it's would be what you would call the kind of their main street. And then there's a cross street called Beach Road, and they kind of form an L. And the lake is right there. There's some boats, but Canada Street is kind of the main drag where people will park their bikes on the road. There's bars and restaurants there. At night, people have gold wings with all kinds of lights and it's tons of people watching and bike watching. But right at the intersection of Beach Road and Canada Street, there's going to be a block party there, and next to that block party area is where we're going to have our tent set up for the Bring It Bike Show. So this is something that for last year, for Americade's 40th anniversary, it's something we did for the first time. It's a motorcycle show sponsored by Rider Magazine and American Rider Magazine. And the whole idea behind it is, we've all been to bike shows where you have professional builders that, put a ton of work and money into very extravagant motorcycles, but tens of thousands of people come to Americade. They all have cool bikes. Some are road worn and pretty thrashed. Some of them are spit polished and pristine. There's vintage bikes, as you said. There's sport touring bikes, and there's V twins, and people bring them. They park them. That's actually one of the fun things about Americade is in some of the parking areas is just walking up and down the rows and checking out the bikes and like, oh, I remember one of those. And this is that people can then bring it to the show. Owners, just whatever bike you've got. We've got multiple categories. And so last year we did American baggers, American cruisers. Another category was European. We had Japanese, and then we had old school
Right.
last year. Yeah. So
Yeah, this is like a really great bike show because some other more headliney kind of bike shows, right? People come in enclosed trailers and bikes are spotless. The title of our bike show, Bring It Bike Show, is appropriate because you ride your bike there. You don't have to put it in a trailer and bring it in. You just ride your bike, and like that adds authenticity. It's real riders. It's not just a showpiece. And the
Absolutely.
location we have too, right next to Lake George, and like it's just stunningly gorgeous. And like the lake is, where did I have 32-mile long lake? It's like an amazing place, 179 islands, and so right there on the shores is the Bring It Bike Show.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with last year, we, like I said, I gave you the categories we did last year. And so what happens is it's $25 to enter your bike. You can register it in advance on the Americade website, which is americade.com. You can register or enter the show that day. $25, you pick what category you want to be in. It was from 11 to 3 each day. And so, as magazine editors, we would be the judges of the show. So, in each of the categories, we have a daily winner. There's prizes for each category, a daily category winner. Then there's an overall editor's choice, which is just our favorite bike of that day. And they win $250 in cash and a little plaque. And then the winners of every day and all the categories, all combined, are invited to a party on Saturday night. And it's kind of an industry party, VIP party. It's people that are exhibitors and vendors at the show, gather all these winners together, and all the bikes are numbered. And then people vote on which is their favorite. So it's a really kind of a people's choice best in show award that goes to, and the winner is gets prizes and then $1,000 in cash right there on the spot.
Yeah, $1,000 in cash. That's pretty nice. And two different categories this year, right? We're adding the adventure category because the adventure class is so hot, and so people ride their adventure bikes and farkle them up with everything, and so we'll see which one is best. And then the other one, right? Anything goes. So
Absolutely.
last year we had a few trikes and things, and it's like, well, where does that go in? What category is that? Well, anything goes. That's your category.
Well, and what would have been appropriate last year in the anything goes category? There was a fella named Hugh Smith who brought his Yamaha Star Cruiser that,
Roadstar, I think, yeah.
yeah, Roadstar, that he had basically converted into a mobile workshop. It had places where instead of saddlebags, you would have those stackable Milwaukee tool chests, and
Right.
he could clip them on both sides. And on the back, he had places where instead of the back seat, you could also put more toolboxes. And he actually had a miter saw,
Right,
a
like
battery powered miter saw that was right there on the back of the bike. Wildest thing we'd ever seen. But he says he's a former veteran, and he uses his mobile workshop to go help work on houses for mothers and children of veterans and so forth. So
mhm.
he was a super great guy. He was definitely kind of the actually Christian Dutcher, who runs Americade, the executive director of Americade. He got kind of a special one-off prize of I don't know, $250 or something, just because it was like kind of the not just the people's choice, but the hearts and minds award kind of, last year. So it was great.
I think Hugh Smith, I think his bike came a close runner-up in the final voting. And so for Christian Dutcher to say, oh, you know what, this guy deserves something, and give him a little extra bonus, because there was no better story around any of
Yeah.
the bikes in our bike show than his, right? A military vet helping families of military vets with a motorcycle with a complete tool kit on it, including like a chop saw or miter saw, whatever. Oh, just what a fantastic guy. He's like
Yeah.
just good-hearted guy trying to help other people, and he's doing it on his motorcycle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was the that was the for me that was the cool thing about, in the past. I mean, we've been involved with Americade since its beginning, and so we've always had some sort of booth there, often in the vendor area. And it's, we're selling subscriptions and have magazines and stuff, but that's not really that much of an interactive experience. And for us to sort of be there where we can meet a few readers, but when you've got a bike show like that, everybody's going to want to come over and kick tires and ask questions about it. There was a guy in the old school category. I think our last day had this super cherry Honda CB750. It was at an
Right.
orange tank, and it was just like all the guys that had ever wanted one of those bikes were coming by and asking him about it over and over again. But it was really there were people that brought their bike to the bike show. and would kind of set up a lawn chair under the tent and just hang out with their bike and answer
Yeah.
questions or shoot the shit with us. It was great. So yeah, it was much more an engaging experience for Americade. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, anybody could show up and be part of the bike show. It doesn't matter what kind of bike. There's a place for it, and you never know if you're going to come away the winner. Like that CB 750, that took a daily award and came in pretty good in the final voting too. And so yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I say, for the Bring It Bike Show, it's centrally located. It's outside of the vendor area. So I mean, anybody, the general public, can come by and see the show. You can enter the show. You can enter the day of. You can come just pull your bike up. The show starts at 11 a.m. each day. So it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we'd like all bikes to be there by 11. Some
Right.
people are not as timely as others, but we'll get the bike set up on display. And then as people come and walk around the rally and the show, across the street from the show is, some of the, there's some restaurants and things. So people that come by and get lunch or buy t-shirts and things like that. It's a great location. So like I said, yeah, this year, because there's a lot of V-twins at Americade, we've got the bagger category, which was very popular. We had some really nice bikes that were displayed at that show. We had a husband and wife that had one of their Harleys in the bagger category. They had one in the cruiser category, or were they both on baggers? I don't remember. They were
We
parked
may
right
have
next
both
to each
been
other.
on baggers, but yeah, different
Yeah,
kinds of cool on both those.
yeah. And then in the Europe, I remember the first day last year in the European category with this really sweet woman named Jennifer who had a couple of kids, and she brought her Ural sidecar, and it was her kind of pride and joy. And she pulled it up and parked, and she was just super excited. And she ultimately won the European class that day, one of the daily winners. So yeah.
And then the winner, Keith Youngblood, right? He brought his 69 Triumph TR6 hardtail. So it was like that was another bike that people couldn't stop walking past, right?
Right.
They had to stop and check it out because it just looked so elemental and cool. And good for Keith for coming away with the ultimate win on that one.
Yeah, it was a very, very kind of simple, essential bike but it was very classy. And like I said, it caught a lot of people's eyes. And the great thing about Keith is, again, a lot of these people, these are not people that go or enter their bikes into shows regularly. It's not like maybe a hot rod club or motorcycle club where people are always entering their bikes. They keep their kind of trailer queen bikes they want to enter into shows. And he was absolutely beside himself to win that because he knew
Yeah.
that one, it had been not that he had just been selected as a daily winner, which he knew you and I had made that selection, but that all of the people at the industry party voted for his bike. That was like the ultimate sort of attaboy or compliment on his bike. And then, of course, he was pretty happy to receive the prizes and $1,000 in cash. But yeah, he was super stoked because it was kind of like out of the blue. He felt like so. Yeah,
Yeah, he got validation for having he built the bike for himself, of course, but other people liked it. And it was validation for his idea. And I think he may have said after winning, like the highlight of his life or something along those,
yeah,
right,
exactly.
to see the smile on his face.
Yeah. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing from the folks at Americade have said some people have already registered. We don't really know what bikes will be. They just sort of pay their money to be in a specific category. So, on Ryder's website, we'll have a link to that. We've got a web post that has a web story that has, photos and the names of each of the person who won each day. Like one of the weird things that we had, I just remembered that from I think it was the second day, we had two Honda Runes entered in the same
That's
day. Those
right.
are very rare motorcycles to begin with, and to have two entered the same day, and one of them was quite customized. It had these. I don't know if they're made by Corbin, whoever makes these saddlebags that
Oh
certainly
yeah,
were
the
not.
beetle bags, I think they
Yeah,
call
the
them.
Beetle bags. Yeah, they're very sculpted and went with the lines of the bike. So I think those might have been Corbin bags, but it had basically what is a show bike in stock form had been highly customized, and yeah, that was also I think that was the Japanese category winner one day.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and you had asked about my time at Americade, and like really, it's a riders rally, and every direction you go from Lake George is a gorgeous area to ride. And I took part last year in the Ride for Kids ride, the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation fundraiser.
yeah.
And yeah, I got to go along the lake and different routes that I wouldn't have found myself, and it's just a spectacular place to ride a motorcycle.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great, and what I've done in the past is I've flown into like Newark, and not too far from there would be BMW's headquarters. I would borrow a bike, take a couple of days to take a long scenic route up through Vermont and Massachusetts, or I've done it through the Adirondacks to get to Lake George, because if you're at the rally, you can go ride for a day, go do some guided rides or self-guided rides, but just to kind of explore some of that part of the country that I don't get to go to very often is great. So yeah.
A little tidbit I found out, Lake George was discovered in the year 1646. So you're talking about history. Man, that's centuries old.
Well, so it's interesting you say that because just north of Lake George, like you said, Lake George is a very long lake. So one of the scenic roads, I think it's Route 7 that goes along the western shore of Lake George. Beautiful road, lots of curves. Sometimes it goes through the forest, and a great scenic ride just north of the village. It ultimately connects to Lake Ticonderoga, and right on the shore of there at Lake Ticonderoga is Fort Ticonderoga, which was a Revolutionary War fortress. And there's cannon emplacements and so forth, and it's a really cool thing to go check out. That's kind of one of the destination rides. And then from Fort Ticonderoga, right there, you can hop on a short ferry ride to take you across the lake over into Vermont, so to go do some riding there. And north of that lake is Lake Champlain, which of course was where the Olympics were in Winter Olympics in 1980, I think,
That sounds right.
something like that. So,
Yeah.
and then, I mean, Lake Champlain, part of that lake is in Canada. So you're right there at the Canadian border if you go that far north. So, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic area. If
Yep.
anyone hasn't ridden around there, you really should put this on your list of things to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I say, it's coming up soon. It's going to start officially kicks off. Like I said, the opening celebration is May 28th. The rally runs from May 29th to June 1st in Lake George, New York. It's easy to get to from most of the New York metropolitan area. So for the 2024 Americade Bring It Bike Show, like I said, it's going to run Wednesday through Saturday. Our categories are American Bagger, American Cruiser, European, Japanese, Adventure, and Anything Goes. So if you got a bike you want to show off, 25 bucks. I mean, it even pays for the parking for the day. So
That's right.
sometimes you got to get a parking pass. And so the 2024 Bring It Bike Show is sponsored by Spectro, Donago, Monimoto, Wild Ass, SNK Helmets, and Lighthouse Grill. We want to thank them for their sponsorship. And with the Lighthouse Grill, that's where the Saturday night industry party, where we're going to do the best of show judging. So there'll be some drinks and there'll be some appetizers, and it's great because there's a nice deck that is right there overlooking Lake George. So it's a great location.
Yep.
Some of the new rides that they've got going on this year. They're always changing the guided and self-guided rides that are on the roster at Americade. So they've got one this year. There's the Queen's Loop around Lake George. There's the Skyline Ride along a mountain ridge. There's a Reservoir Ramble along winding waterfront roads. The New York and Vermont Covered Bridges Ride, which is great because it goes to 7 different covered bridges, mostly in Vermont. Those are always really cool to see. And sometimes you can ride through them. Sometimes you only can walk through them. There's scenic riding and fine dining ride along the shore of Lake George and Lake Champlain. And then for the adventure riders, there's the Americade Adventure Rides, which will take ADV riders deep into the Adirondacks. So the family that runs Americade, it was founded by Bill Dutcher, who used to be a PR guy for Harley Davidson back in the day. He's a former racer, started Americade in the early 80s with he and his wife. Now it's run by his son, Christian Dutcher. But they're big, not only just touring riders, but ADV riders. They run a rally later in the year in August. It's the Touratech Dirt Days rally in Vermont. So that's a big adventure rally. So they have that as well. So yeah. So you can go to Americade.com. You can sign up, find out all the details about not just the demo rides, but all the schedule of events. There's things you can register for in advance. And so, yeah, Americade.com. Yeah.
Gorgeous scenery, all kinds of great riding, demo rides, more demo rides than you might find anywhere else in the country, and the Bring It Bike Show. Come on
Yeah.
by.
Yeah, so if you can't attend this year, look at ridermagazine.com, story about the winners of the Bring It Bike Show. We'll also have photos from the event from Americade. So we'll have a rally report as well as winners of the Bring It Bike Show. And yeah, so thanks, Duke. It was good chatting with you as always. Good talking about Americade.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun event again.
Awesome. So before we sign off, again, want to thank Fly Racing for sponsoring the show. Certainly appreciate their support. Make sure you visit flyracing.com or your Western Power Sports dealer to check out their street, adventure, and off-road apparel. And for the Rider Magazine Insider Podcast, I'm Greg Drevinstead. Thanks for listening, and keep the rubber side down.
Yep.
If you've enjoyed listening to the Rider Magazine Insider Podcast, please subscribe, leave us a positive rating, and tell your friends. We also encourage you to visit ridermagazine.com, where you can get the latest in motorcycle news and reviews and sign up for our free weekly newsletter. You can also subscribe to print and digital editions of Rider Magazine, which is published 12 times a year. Thanks again for listening.